In 1922, a brilliant physicist attended Steiner's lecture in Stuttgart. He was there to debunk what he called mystical nonsense. 3 hours later, he left in tears, saying, "I came with a full cup of knowledge. Steiner showed me it was full of poison." That physicist went on to make discoveries that changed modern science. But first, he had to learn Steiner's most dangerous exercise, how to empty his cup without losing his mind. Welcome back, consciousness explorers. For 4 days, you've been building power, mental control, will force, emotional balance, alchemical perception. But today Steiner's going to show you why your certainties might be your biggest obstacle, and why the most intelligent people are often the most spiritually blocked. Here's the mind bender Steiner presented. The more you know, the less you can learn. The more certain you are, the more blind you become. But here's the trap. If you throw away all discernment and believe everything, you become what Steiner called a spiritual sponge, absorbing every poison along with every medicine. So how do you stay open without becoming gullible? How do you empty your cup without spilling your wisdom? Steiner had an answer, and it's nothing like what you'd expect. Steiner explained it using an image that sounds simple but contains profound occult wisdom. He said, this is from his 1921 Dornach lectures. The soul must become like a chalice, not a sieve. A chalice can be emptied and filled. A sieve holds nothing. But here's what most people miss. He wasn't talking about emptying your mind of thoughts. He was talking about emptying your mind of crystallized positions. Modern neuroscience calls this cognitive flexibility. But Steiner went deeper. He said that every strong opinion, every fixed belief, creates what he called etheric hardening. Literally, your energy body becomes rigid where your thoughts are fixed. And here's the kicker. Spiritual perception can only flow through fluid etheric substance. The moment you know something absolutely, you create a blind spot exactly there. Steiner learned this the hard way. In his autobiography, he describes meeting his teacher, who he only calls the master. This teacher's first words to young Steiner: "Everything you think you know is preventing you from knowing anything real." Steiner was devastated. He was a brilliant young scholar. He'd read everything. And this teacher was telling him his knowledge was his prison? But the master showed him something incredible. That true open-mindedness isn't about having no positions. It's about holding your positions like a scientist holds a hypothesis, useful until proven otherwise, valuable but not sacred, a tool, not an identity. Steiner called this conscious liquidity of thought. Now Steiner gave a serious warning about this exercise. He said some students go too far and become what he called jellyfish souls. So open they have no structure, no discrimination. Others fake it. They say, I'm open to everything, but inside they're judging, dismissing, defending their hidden positions. True open-mindedness, it's the hardest of all the exercises, because it asks you to hold uncertainty without anxiety. What we're about to do is create what Steiner called sacred space for the unknown. But first, you need to identify your cups that are too full. What are you absolutely certain about? What opinions feel like part of your identity? What beliefs would genuinely disturb you to question? Got something? Good. That's where we begin. Take your position. By now, this is becoming ritual. Sacred posture for sacred work. Close your eyes. 3 breaths, but with a specific intention. With each exhale, imagine you're creating more space inside, not emptying, creating space. Breathe in. Exhale, creating inner space. Again, breathing in possibility. Exhale, more space within. Once more, in, and create vast inner space. Now bring to mind one of your strong positions, a belief, an opinion, something you know to be true. Hold it gently, like you're holding a beautiful crystal. Appreciate it. This belief has served you. It's been useful. Now, here's Steiner's radical move. Say to this belief, "You have been my faithful servant, but I do not need you to define me." Feel what happens when you say that. Does something inside grip tighter? Does anxiety arise? That's the ego, terrified of uncertainty. Breathe. You're not destroying the belief. You're changing your relationship to it. Now imagine this belief becoming liquid, not disappearing, transforming from solid to fluid. It's still there. You can still use it, but it's no longer rigid. It can flow. It can change shape if needed. In the space where solidity was, something new appears. Steiner called it expectant emptiness, not the dead emptiness of ignorance, the living emptiness of readiness. From this space, ask genuinely, what if I'm wrong about this? What if there's more to see? Don't force an answer. Just feel the question. Feel how it creates even more space. Now, and this is the advanced practice, imagine someone who believes the opposite of your position, someone intelligent, sincere, experienced. Can you just for this moment see through their eyes? Not agree, just see. What does the world look like from there? What experiences might have led them to their view? Feel the stretch, your consciousness literally expanding to hold multiple perspectives without choosing. This is what Steiner called the chalice state, empty enough to receive, structured enough to hold. Now, let all positions dissolve. Just rest in the spaciousness. The not knowing that knows it doesn't know. In this space, Steiner said, true spiritual insights can enter, not through the locked door of certainty, through the open window of wonder. Slowly, gently, return to normal consciousness, but try to keep some of that spaciousness. Take a breath, open your eyes. How do you feel? Uncomfortable? Liberated? Both? Steiner said the sign of genuine open-mindedness is comfortable discomfort with uncertainty. Now here's what's remarkable. Steiner's students reported that after practicing this, they started having insights about things they'd never studied. Why? Because they'd created what Steiner called negative space for wisdom, like the pause between musical notes that makes the music possible. Steiner revealed something profound about collective consciousness. He said that humanity's fixed beliefs create what he called thought barriers in the etheric atmosphere. These barriers literally prevent new spiritual impulses from reaching Earth. But every time someone practices genuine open-mindedness, they create what he called windows in the wall, openings through which evolutionary ideas can enter. Here's your practice for the next 24 hours. Whenever you find yourself in disagreement or certainty, pause. Ask yourself, what would I need to experience to see this differently? Not, how can I convince them? But, what experience would change my mind? This question alone begins to liquify crystallized thoughts. In the ancient mysteries, this was called the Dissolution. Before any initiation, the candidate had to dissolve their fixed ideas, not to become weak-minded, but to become fluid enough for transformation. Steiner was essentially teaching the same process, making your consciousness fluid enough to evolve. I want to leave you with something Steiner said that completely reframes education, debate, even truth itself. The person who must be right has stopped growing. The person who can be wrong has infinite potential for development. Today, you practiced being magnificently, courageously wrong, or at least uncertain. And in that uncertainty, you created space for wisdom you can't yet imagine. Let's close with Steiner's evening practice for open-mindedness. Close your eyes one more time. Think of everything you learned today, everything you think you know. Now say internally, this is my current understanding. Tomorrow I may understand differently, and I welcome that growth. Feel how that creates space for your future wisdom. Open your eyes. Welcome to the path of eternal learning. Tomorrow, day 6, we reach the culmination of the basic exercises, inner harmony, where you'll learn to balance all 5 practices into what Steiner called the philosopher's stone of consciousness. He said this final exercise could literally restructure your karma and open what he called the supersensible gates. But today you have crystallized thoughts to liquify, fixed positions to soften, space to create for tomorrow's wisdom. Remember, every moment of genuine uncertainty is a window for evolution. Keep your cup empty enough to be filled.